Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Mack Story.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. Today we're on Chapter 20 of my 30-part series focused on blue collar leadership and supervision. Unleash your team's potential. And that's my book I wrote for formal authority leaders who want to set their artificial influence, their position, their title, their rank, leaders who want to set that to the side and who want to lead with authentic influence. So today, Chapter 20 is titled Motivation is Never Enough. And the subtitle is Motivation Comes from the Outside, but inspiration comes from the inside. See, to become a high-impact leader, you've got to move far beyond motivation because it's going to require inspiration. So let me tell you a little bit about that, and you've probably heard me talk about it on different episodes. But in this context, on the last episode, I talked about you got to get ahead from 5 to 9. From 9 to 5, you got to work. But from 5 to 9, that's when you really get ahead. That requires inspiration. So what I'm talking about, though, is motivation is external. For instance, when we're speaking or we go to an organization, we're about to go speak as I'm doing this the next few days, we'll be going to speak at a manufacturing organization to a bunch of blue collar workers, the frontline workforce, people who support them, engineering roles, management, everybody basically from the entry level to the plant manager, and maybe some outside people may also be there. But when we go in there, people get excited, they get fired up, they get to slow down, they get their mind going, they start thinking about all this stuff that we're talking about, and they decide to do something. They want to go do something different. That's because they're motivated. And Rhea and I at the front of the room on the stage, we're motivating them. That's external. They decided to do whatever they're deciding to do because we're in the room. That's the only reason. And what I'm saying is that's not enough. That's external. That's motivation. It wears off, kind of like a shower. That's why they need inspiration. If they decide when they leave from there, they're going to go read that book that the owners or the leaders bought for them. Most of the time, that's what we're doing. We got the 200 book package where we reduce our rate to $3,600. And at the current moment, people can get 200 books for free. We reduce our rate down to $3,600, which is actually the cost of those books. And we go speak up to 4 hours. And we're going to do that throughout the end of 2019. At 2020, it's going to switch, and it's not going to be 4 hours any longer. It's going to be 2 hours. So they'll still be able to get 200 books, and we'll reduce our speaking rate down to the cost of 200 books, $3,600. And we'll be speaking up to 2 hours on site anywhere in the U.S. and pay our expenses. So what I'm saying, a lot of times people have the books. So if they get wound up and they hear us talking, even like right now, if you haven't ordered this Blue Collar Leadership and Supervision book, you're just listening to the podcast. Maybe you're listening today and you're listening to what I'm saying at the moment. And you say, I need to go order that book. I need to go get it and read it because Mack's not sharing everything with me that's in it. And it's not put together as well as I'm sure he's got it put together in the book, which is the truth. And you decided while you're listening, I'm going to order that book. That's motivation. That means I've motivated you to do it. But if you do it, it's because you're inspired to do it, not because you're motivated to do it. And that's what a lot of people are missing. They're missing inspiration. See, I'm going to read tonight. Ain't nobody talked to me today about reading. I'm going to do it. I've already read this morning. No, I didn't talk to anybody that told me. I don't need somebody else to motivate me to grow. I got that fire burning on the inside because of me. You might be able to tell just me talking about it. I get a little bit fired up. And that's because I'm proud of it. Mack Story does not need a single person on this planet to motivate me to go do something. I'm going to make it happen. I'm trying to motivate you to become inspired, because that's what it takes to make it happen. That's what most people are missing in life, is inspiration. They need motivation. They need somebody with them to do it. They need somebody standing with them, alongside them, patting them on the back constantly. That's okay. That's not a bad thing if you got somebody to stand there with you. But most of the time, we don't have somebody to stand there with us. We have to have discipline. Discipline is giving yourself a command and following through on it. So if you don't go buy the book, but you want the book, you're not inspired. You've only been motivated, and it wears off, like I said earlier. So Andy Stanley says this: every once in a while, I'll hear someone in leadership complain about the performance or competency of the people around him or her. We must never forget that the people who follow us are exactly where we have led them. That last line, that's powerful, from Andy Stanley. We must never forget that the people who follow us are exactly where we have led them. I talk to leaders all across this country, and some of them I hear, unfortunately, it's pretty common, but I hear a lot of leaders moaning and groaning about their team. And I smile and listen and nod and try to understand. And I'm thinking of that quote right there from Andy Stanley. We must never forget that the people who follow us are exactly where we have led them. And the folks who tell me that, they don't understand, because see, they're blaming the people. They're not asking me to help them. Some people do, but majority of leaders blame their people. I'm looking for those leaders who want to stand there and say, this is happening. It's my fault. How do I get better? What do I need to do different? That's a rare leader, but that's what needs to happen for everything to get better. But a lot of leaders, they just want to blame others, and they don't understand. They don't know what they don't know. But because they don't know what they don't know, they don't understand that when they're saying bad stuff about their people to somebody who actually does know, they're just like yelling and screaming, I don't know how to lead. I don't know how to lead. I don't know how to lead. That's what I actually hear all the time. That ain't what comes out of their mouth, but that's what I hear. Because they're so used to talking to other people who don't know what they don't know, and they agree with them, and everybody blames the people. I agree with Andy Stanley. The people who follow us are exactly where we have led them. If our people are not in the right place, we need to get out the mirror. I wish every leader had a mirror right in front of their desk. So when they're sitting there, when they think, what's wrong? What's going on? What caused this? Look in the mirror, man. Look in the mirror, lady. That's what caused it. Leadership or lack of leadership. And if you're the top leader or you're the leader of your team, they're exactly where you've led them. I don't say that to be ugly. It's just the truth. I speak a lot of leadership truth. The reason is, leaders who want to grow, who want to know what do they need to do, they need to hear the truth. They don't need to hear a bunch of warm, fuzzy stuff. They need to hear the truth. Because high impact leaders, they looking for the truth. They know they don't know what they know, but they want to know. And when somebody tells them, they don't feel offended. They're like, oh man, I didn't realize that. So today's lesson is all about helping people understand there's a difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation is external. You got to have somebody else or something or somebody motivating, pushing, encouraging you to do something, to take some action. Inspiration comes from the inside. It's all about you. You're doing all that for yourself. You make it happen, whatever that is. So how's your team doing? Where have you led your team? Remember, this stuff applies at home. How are your children doing? Where have you led your children? That's another one, man. Go listen to some parents moan, groan, and whine about their kids. especially if they're young kids. Teenagers, as they start getting, maybe 14, 15, maybe a little earlier, but definitely in that range, they start becoming individuals, and we're allowed to do that because nobody owns us. So yes, at a certain age, your children are going to do whatever they want to do because they got the right, just like you and I have the right to do whatever we want to do. It's going to happen in those children's lives. But a lot of times it's smaller children. They hadn't got to that point yet. Especially you just say most children under 12. Parents moan and groan about the kids. They won't listen. They won't do this. They won't do that. Well, think about Andy Stanley's quote. Just switch people. The kids who follow us are exactly where we have led them. The children who follow us are exactly where we have led them. And I know a lot of people, they ain't ready for this truth. They don't want to accept that responsibility. So when you look at them, your team, it's like looking in the mirror and seeing yourself. What you see when you look at your team as a leader is a reflection of how you're doing as their leader. They are the mirror. When you understand what I'm talking to you about, your team is a reflection of your leadership ability. If you don't like what you see, go look in the real mirror and improve your leadership ability. And if you listen to this podcast, I congratulate you because you're trying to improve your leadership ability. And I promise you, as you improve it, your team's going to get better. But what I also know is unmotivated leaders will never motivate their teams. Think about it. Do you want to follow an unmotivated leader? Their performance, the team's performance, reflects your ability to motivate and inspire them. And for me personally, I don't really want to follow a motivated leader. I want to follow an inspired leader. Because there may not be anybody to motivate that leader. It may be the team and the leader. Now, if all of us are, as individuals on the team, are leading ourselves well, then we can motivate the leader, and the leader can motivate us. We can be inspired by the leader can be inspired by us. Your ability to lead is reflected in your team's willingness to follow you and their desire to achieve results. Think about that again. Your ability to lead is reflected in your team's willingness to follow you and their desire to achieve results. A lot of times when we're speaking, I'll ask leaders, I'll say, think about this. Do any of you in the room have anybody on your team and you've been asking them to do something? Whatever it is you've asked them to do or you wish they would do or you want them to do. I say, have you ever had a situation where that happened, but the team member didn't do it? Pretty much everybody has. And I'm not really looking for an answer. I'm looking for them to reflect and think about it. So as they're thinking about it, I say, have you ever asked them to do something, and they know how to do it. They have the competency. That's not an issue. They know how to do what you're asking them to do. And they have time to do it. So they know how to do it, and they have time to do it. But they're not doing it. I say, have you ever had that? A lot of heads are usually nodding by this time. People are like, yeah, I've had that. People know how to do it, have time to do it, but they won't do it. I say, you know why they don't do it? And then everybody kind of just stares at me. And I say, it's because they don't want to do it, and they don't have to do it. If they had to do it, you'd fire them. But you don't fire them, and they don't do it. Or it takes them forever to do it, or you have to ask them 15 times to do it. It's because they don't want to do it, and they don't have to do it. Think about what I just told you a minute ago. Your ability to lead is reflected in your team's willingness to follow you and their desire to achieve results. So if you're delegating a result, something you need done or would like them to do, and they're not doing it, they don't have much of a desire to achieve the result for you. That means you've got to grow and develop your leadership. You've got to build that relationship. And I can tell you, if you've heard my other episodes, The difference I'm talking about right there, people who follow a leader because they have to tend to only do what they have to do. People who follow a leader because they want to tend to do far more than they have to do. And that far more number, productivity-wise, research studies actually show us 40% more. 40% more productivity when people follow a leader because they want to. And I've seen it. I think it's greater than that. But that's what the research says, so that's what I'm telling you. But I think it's bigger than that. If you truly want to motivate and inspire someone to take action, it's real easy. Help them look good, because that will make them feel good. Are you out on a mission to help yourself look good? Are you using your team to help you look good as a leader? Or are you using your position, your authority, to help others look good? You help your team look good, they're going to feel good. They're going to want to follow. People love to follow people who make them feel good. Think about it. It's funny, though, a lot of leaders make their team feel bad. And I don't even know who you are that's listening at this moment. But I promise you this, you may not know the last thing. You may not be able to remember the last thing your leader said to you. Think about it for a second. You may remember, but you may not remember. Depends on how long ago it was. The last time you spoke directly with your leader. You may not remember what they said. I promise you, you still remember how they made you feel. You can pull that out instantly. And if you're a leader of others, I could ask your team member the same thing, and they know exactly how you made them feel last time they interacted with you. Or didn't interact with you. You may have walked right past them and act like they didn't exist. I promise you that's going to make them feel a certain way. Leaders who are too busy for their team have a bunch of team members that are too busy for their leader. And they only do what they have to do. And the leader's frustrated, and the people are frustrated. Might sound a little rough and tough, but that's the way it is. So to change your results, you must take action. And taking action requires something far beyond motivation. I think you got it figured out by this much time into the episode, but taking action requires inspiration. Even if someone is with you, they may be motivating you, but the moment you do it, you were inspired from within to do it. That's what motivation externally really is, creating inspiration. It kind of gets complicated, but you need to know the difference. And that's what you as a leader are trying to do. You're trying to inspire people to take action. And a lot of that action, where the real gold is at, is in a place where they don't have to do it, that 40%. See, low impact leaders, when they're getting 100%, a low impact leader, a dictator, a leader who just leads from artificial influence, from power and authority and iron fist, and don't ask questions, don't involve people, just tells them what to do. When that leader believes they're getting 100%, I'm here to tell you they're getting 60%, but they don't know what they don't know. Because they don't know what they don't know, and they've never led as a high impact leader, they think when they get in what they can, the max they can get, they think that's 100%. That's 60% at best. Because they're missing the 40% of somebody following a leader because they want to. So I'm going to leave you with this quote by Stanley Marcus Jr. He said, "You'll never get dumber by making someone else smarter." You'll never get dumber by making someone else smarter. High impact leaders live out of abundance. They share knowledge. They share information. They're not threatened. They're not insecure. They're very secure. And they understand that little quote. You'll never get dumber by making someone else smarter. But I promise you, if your team's getting smarter, they're getting better. And if you're a high impact leader, you'll give them all the credit. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mack Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mack's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.